Today on the show, we're going to explore two free vehicles that not only present a significant savings opportunity for you as a player, but they also promise to spice up your GTA Online adventures and money grinding just a little bit here. First up, we have an SUV in this game that delivers solid performance both on and off the road, which is going to feature reasonable acceleration as well as a higher top speed than some others in its class, which make it a fun and versatile addition to any player's garage. And then next, we're also going to discuss another car that captures the nostalgic charm of the 1970s with the performance quirks of a classic sports car. And while it is going to struggle with competitiveness in races due to the handling and traction challenges it has and poses, it does remain a distinctive choice in my opinion for any sort of collector or enthusiast out there. But either way, securing both either or none of these vehicles for $0, given their pretty significant market values, I think this overall is a good opportunity for the week that you definitely want to take advantage of. While they're not going to be the top performers of their respective classes, I do think they both possess unique characteristics, and of course, they have pretty substantial price tags that make them valuable assets even if you just want to collect them. So we're going to check out the customization, review that, and check out the performance potential of these vehicles as well, test them out on the track, and see how they perform. So let's get started. So first up, let's talk about the LS Car Meet prize ride for this week, which is the Vulcar Nebula Turbo. Now it's priced at $797,000 and it's available from Southern San Andreas Super Autos if you want to buy it. It released as part of the Diamond Casino and Resort DLC update, and in order to unlock this vehicle for $0 this week, players need to complete the prize ride challenge, which is just winning a race in the LS Car Meet series for 2 days in a row. Now the Nebula Turbo does find itself at a big disadvantage here in the sports classics category overall. It's going to more so echo the performance issues of the Futo, but also it's going to be further challenged by the heavier build it has and the longer braking distances it has. It has average top speed, I think it has poor traction, and overall it's worsened as well by a very bouncy suspension that demands upgrades, and overall it's a less desirable competitor in races like we were talking about. But the unique steering quirks here, including the asymmetrical toe value, that's going to make this car veer left pretty much unpredictably here, so that's going to make you encounter more driving challenges. It's pretty heavy, but honestly, it's funny because despite it being heavy, it's a car that doesn't ram other vehicles out of the way really well despite its weight. So you're not going to carry that momentum if you get into a crash. And then aesthetically speaking, this vehicle draws inspiration from the Volvo 242 GT. So it showcases that blend of 1970s Volvo design as well as a little bit out of the 80s functionality. And overall, I think it's a distinctive, but it is definitely a challenging car to drive within this game. But with that being said, let's head to the track and test it out. This is my Vulcar Nebula Turbo, and honestly, when it comes to the customization, I feel like you have a bunch of good options, good enough customization, but I just don't like it personally. I'm not just a fan of this car kind of in general. The body style is kind of cool. The front looks a little bit like too beefy, almost like a nerd with glasses is kind of what it reminds me of. But the back looks okay for like more of, you know, just like an older classic, or not even, I don't want to say classic, like way too far, way too old classic, but you know, like late 80s, early 90s style vehicle. Nonetheless, let's take this to the track. Let's see how it performs, because this thing slides around a lot, and with drift upgrades, I don't have them on, but I'm sure they're crazy. Now, truthfully, I don't know what kind of time I'm gonna set on this track. If we can get under 3 minutes, I think we're making great pace. I don't think we're going to. I think we're gonna be above 3, maybe like 3 minutes 10, honestly, maybe even 3 minutes 15 seconds. I feel like I'm gonna wipe out just because I'm gonna be drifting around, sliding around so much. But nonetheless, 3, 2, 1, start our timer. Of course, just jam on the gas. We are getting so much wheel spin. This is one of the slower cars that you can get off the line. Obviously, you can lean into the throttle and be intentional and deliberate with that, but I'm just trying to give you like the raw performance, almost first impressions, because I last reviewed this in one of my discounts buyer's guides so long ago. And then when it comes to actually driving this car in live gameplay format to test out the customization and performance, I don't think I've ever talked about this car live, and this thing just does not want to take a turn. You go from having a crazy amount of oversteer, or sorry, understeer, like plowing is what it feels like with this car, but then you have so much suspension, travel, and lean that the rear, like depending on if you're going left, the rear right wheel will pick up, or if you're going, or excuse me, if you're going left, yeah, the rear left wheel will pick up. If you're going right, the rear right will pick up. And what happens then is that gets loose, and that'll cause you to start sliding around. That's what I can notice right away, is you get understeer to lots of suspension travel to sliding and maybe a little bit of snappy oversteer because of the traction loss. It's very strange. Nonetheless, we are just not making good. I can already tell we're not setting a good pace, and I'm not trying to put any cuts in this just because of the fact that, you know, I'm trying to give you my raw performance, you know, first impressions and things like that. I have my foot to the floor and you just lose so much momentum when you take a turn. I came very close to wiping out there. It almost feels like the steering on this car is very delayed. Like, you will try and move left or right, move the analog stick left and right to turn the direction of your vehicle, and the car just doesn't want to go that way. And this is the section of the track that I always have trouble with no matter the vehicle, or vehicles always have trouble no matter what, just because it's windy turns going up and down in elevation. And so this is like probably this car's worst nightmare. This is going to be its weak point 100%, so I got to be careful I don't wipe out, because I'm just trying to get around the track without crashing. If I was a little bit faster, then I probably would crash and we'd lose even more time. So let's just see how we could do it with, like, you know, trying to be as flawless as we can with our driving in terms of not crashing. I'm not an expert GTA racer, you know. Obviously, I could do way better with the racing line on this course that I'm doing, but I'm just trying to show you guys, you know, as like an average player, a casual or something, like what you can expect if you were to try and unlock this vehicle this week and things like that. Because, well, it's not the biggest LS Car Meet Prize Ride Challenge requirement. It is one you need to do, and yeah, it probably is worth it if you want to obtain this vehicle rather than buying it for full price, because I can tell you right now, this vehicle is not worth its full MSRP value off the in-game website. But say if it's ever on discount for the week, I still don't think it would be worth it, unless you really love this car. But since you can win it for $0 this week, then that is what I would recommend. If you can obtain it for $0 like you can this week, then it's worth it, in my opinion. We are 2 minutes and 54 seconds on my timer right now. Maybe the time code in my editing is just going to be off by a slight bit, because of course that's 100% accurate. I'm just looking at my stopwatch and commentating about it live. But I can tell you that this is going to be way ahead, or way below a 3, or way higher, I should say, than a 3 minute and 10 second car, 3 minute 15 seconds. This is going to be almost 3:30 at this point, honestly. 3:20, 3:22? It looks like, let's see when we cross this intersection. It looks like this is going to be a 3 minute and 23 second car. Extremely slow. This is one of the slowest LS Car Meet Prize Rides we've tested. It's not a podium vehicle for the week, but this is slower than any podium vehicle we've been testing recently since I introduced this series with the Bottom Dollar Bounties DLC. The performance of this car isn't bad per se. If you put drift upgrades on it and you want to just slide around and have fun, it's great for that purpose. But to like race it competitively or just use it for like mission grinding, there's so many better options, like the Benefactor Vorschlag hammer, similar type of appearance, and of course just way better performance. I'm just never going to use this car. I could tell you personally that I'm never going to drive this vehicle around outside of course, me reviewing it here today. Now, next up, we have the Diamond Casino podium vehicle for the week, which is the Bravado Dorado. And this is going to cost you $1.375 million from Southern San Andreas Super Autos, and it released with the Chop Shop update if you want to buy it off that in-game website. It's a very robust SUV in this game that I think performs pretty well off-road as well as on-road. The vehicle benefits from excellent traction because of its drivetrain layout, and it also offers reasonable acceleration as well as a higher top speed than many other SUVs in the game. It's going to more so be comparable to maybe like the Benefactor XLS or the Gresley in terms of performance, but the XLS is going to be a faster SUV overall. And then despite its considerable size, that's going to induce extra body roll with this car around sharp corners and turns and things like that. But overall, the Dorado is very sturdy. It's got a nice suspension system, and so it's well equipped to prevent rollovers even on the most challenging of terrains. And also its design also draws inspiration from the first generation Dodge Durango, so as a kid, I used to love looking at this car. I wanted my parents to buy one. While there are better off-road options available in GTA, such as the Camacho or of course the Declasse Draugr, the Bravado Dorado, I think, holds its own with some very enjoyable driving dynamics as well as extensive customization possibilities, which we're going to talk about. And overall, I think it's a worthwhile addition to any GTA player's garage, so definitely try and win it this week. Now, here is my Bravado Dorado, everyone. Of course, I'm not exiting the LS Customs shop this time just because I want to save daylight and get to the track as fast as possible. We're going to do a very, very brief performance test on-road, take it immediately into off-roading on some dirt trails so you could see kind of like the off-road performance, suspension travel, how good this truck looks like that, or how good this SUV looks while it's actually off-roading. And then we'll also check out maybe some hill climbs at the end, because I'm also curious to see how this performs, because when it comes to just like acceleration and stuff, it's an older late 90s, early 2000s Dodge Durango. There's nothing like insane about it like the newer Durangos or anything like that. But as it stands right now, I feel like you do get good enough performance when it comes to this SUV eventually picking up. The handling's honestly all right. We do have off-road wheels on here and off-road tires, so we're going to get the best traction and performance possible. But also, when it comes to this, I can definitely tell you that it just feels good to drive on the road. So whether you're using this for like money grinding purposes or just driving around, I think you will be very happy with the choice of this vehicle. So now coming up here on the left, instead of me making the right, I'm going to make this left and go off this trail, and we're just going to keep making lefts because we're going to come back up that other hill. So let's take this thing off-road, and I want to showcase, let's take it like a little bit slow at first. You could just see the suspension travel when we go over all the bumps and stuff like that. You get a lot of suspension travel with this SUV. It looks awesome. That's probably one of my favorite things about off-roading in trucks and different SUVs and stuff like that in this game, is because of looking at the suspension and, you know, axle articulation and all that. Let's also now pick up the pace a little bit. Let's see if this vehicle is going to be top heavy at all as we navigate left and right around these trails. It honestly doesn't seem to be that way, and you can maintain pretty good performance. We're taking these turns very sharply, and we're not sliding all too much. Something like this may cause us to tip over if we're not careful, but, you know, it's just something that we can also kind of counteract and deal with very fast and swiftly without running into too many problems. So now we'll continue all the way through here, and we will also make this other left to go up this hill, just a little bit over here. I want to kind of like continue to take it off-road. So let's cut through here, and you can still see all the suspension travel. Looks amazing. Now we are back on one of the main roads, but don't worry, we're going to go right back off-roading because we need to head up this other hill here, and that'll just be like the off-road loop that we're doing. I'm not going to time it with this Durango and this Bravado Dorado just because of the fact that, I mean, I guess it could be comparable. It may actually be faster on that same route that we took the Vulcar Nebula Turbo on, but I feel like when it comes to a vehicle like this, we got to showcase its off-road capabilities and see how it does. You know, this isn't really a hill climb in terms of steep elevation or rock crawling or anything like that, but we are going up a hill, and I feel like it is, you know, acceptable to actually showcase the kind of power and pickup speed you can get on this car while you're trying to accelerate up a hill, especially off-road. And honestly, not too bad. I mean, there are quicker trucks, there's quicker SUVs, especially off-road. You know, the Canis Camacho is going to be better, the Declasse, Draugr, anything like that. I'd say this is honestly very comparable to that Declasse Yosemite 1500 that we also got with the bottom dollar bounties update. So if you want to compare it to anything just in terms of like how it feels to drive off-road, sort of similar to that. Not necessarily in the handling, because that's a longer wheelbase truck, but just in terms of like general speed and stuff like that. Hill climbing up steep inclines is very nice. You get that power to kind of go through. And the ramming capabilities, I should mention, I don't have an example to show you right now, but the ramming capabilities on this Bravado Dorado are very nice. Can we get a whole front flip in here? We're going to get so close. That's awesome. Now we get some tests of the crash deformation. Of course, I have full armor upgrades, and we just lost the bumper, broke windows, things like that. And the bull bar is slightly hanging off because of the whole bumper, but front bumper is intact at the end of the day. The Bravado Dorado is really fun. I think it is, of course, just worth spinning the wheel and trying to unlock this week. And you could create a super cool, you know, off-road build, whatever you want. I decided to go with black fender flares along with like a dark earth exterior. I was going to go with a white, but I feel like for this actual vehicle, it looks better with this dark earth. And of course, roof rack, bull bar, similar to what I have on my Disco 2. And, you know, these are side steps, but I wanted to have something that looked like rock sliders for, like, the skirts. So they look sort of similar. They wouldn't be as pronounced that they were rock sliders, but nonetheless, you can definitely create some very cool off-road builds with this Bravado Dorado. And I think the performance for what you get out of this and the price point is quite nice, in my opinion.